Hello, everybody. We just started recording. We are streaming. This is going to be the Battle for Zendikar set review. Brennan is in Las Vegas, so it is going to be me and Dan tonight. Say hello, Dan.
Hello, I thought I was going to sing the song at the start.
You can sing it now if you want.
The moment is spoiled.
I'm sorry, I normally just go right in. I don't run the podcast very often. So maybe
Let's do this.
Okay, so to start out, we're going to go through, like we normally do, commons for standard Pauper. We will talk a little bit if we see anything that we think could be applicable to classic Pauper. The pickings, I think, are going to be pretty slim on that. I think Dan echoes that sentiment. I want to say goodbye to Theros. You were a pretty narrow set, and I'm glad to see you go. I know Dan's going to miss Gary quite a bit.
Gary! I was hoping he would be in Origins. He wasn't.
And I've been playing around with the cards on the beta, and I can say that the commons and uncommons, and we won't talk about the uncommons, but they're my favorite cards in the set. The themes just seem to hang together really well. I think it's going to be a weird set because I think it's going to really take the forefront of the format, and Cons is going to play support because these themes don't overlap to the Cons themes at all.
Just like standard, pretty much.
Yeah, I think Cons is going to take a back seat, and except for like the really powerful cards like Siege Rhino and the really good stuff like that. But the beta's been a lot of fun. I haven't got a test standard Pauper on there yet, but I have been doing the beta drafts and beta silds, which gives a good overview of how things are going to work.
It's a pretty slow, limited format, right?
Oh, super slow. I've been running 19 to 20 lands in my silds because you don't want to miss land drops. You do not want to miss land drops because either you're playing landfall and you're playing retreats, or you're playing 8 casting cost, 9 casting cost creatures that are your top end, and if you stumble and you can't play your bombs on time, there's no early game right now. It doesn't feel like, you'll see when we get to like the 2-drops, they're like almost immediately outclassed by anything else going on. We are going to be doing.
So it's a lot more Rise of the Eldrazi than it is Zendikar from a limited perspective.
I would guess it is. I've not done any Rise of the Eldrazi drafting. When they flashed it back, I wasn't playing at that time. But it feels Battle Cruiser without having to build it like Theros. You just get to play cards like on screen right now. It's a rare but endless one where it's a 0/0 X casting cost. I've played that thing as a 12/12 in the format. So I mean, there's no evasion, but I mean, you can't get better value than spending 12 mana and getting a 12/12 creature. I mean, unless it let you draw like 5 cards at the same time or something like that. We are going to go ahead and do the grading system this time, A through F, and then sideboard, because there are some sideboard only cards in the set. A's are bombs, B's are pretty good. They'll make you want to build decks around them. C's are filler cards. D's are cards that you probably don't really want to be playing, but they probably have a role. F's are bad. And I don't feel like there's a ton of F's at this point. And then sideboard cards are cards like Dispel, which did get reprinted. You're never really going to run that main deck unless the format goes really wonky. Do you have any problems with any of that, Dan?
Sounds great.
Okay. And then run through the mechanics super quick. Devoid, a lot of the colored cards in the set that are associated with the Eldrazi are colorless. They have Devoid as a keyword. Ingest is a mill type effect on the creatures that exiles the top card of the library when they do damage. Converge is a lot like Sunburst, in that it counts the types of mana spent. Those cards are fairly limited. There's not a bunch in Rise or Battle for Zendikar. Awaken is interesting because it's kind of like a modular card type. And Process, which is not really a mechanic. We'll see one of those, I think, here at the colorless section. And it's more of something to do with the cards that you're exiling.
I managed to get JPH Snake to care about Pauper again because the Pauper Gauntlets is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote me a full essay on Awaken. So I might publish that today on MTGO Library.
You definitely should, because my experiences with Awaken have been, it's overcosted. I want it to be cool, and then it often makes the land you awaken into a target where it was not a target before.
Yeah, but that land could be Darksteel Citadel.
It could be Darksteel Citadel, and that makes things a lot better. But yeah, we'll get to the good Awaken cards. There's one in particular in blue that I really like at the common level. So the one I really like in blue is the card draw one, but it's uncommon. So, okay, so we are using the official spoiler that was put up last Friday, because neither Magic Cards Info nor Gatherer have the sortable spoilers up yet, which is really annoying, because we are going into the pre-release this upcoming weekend, and normally one of the two would do it, but and I would use the beta client, but I think that would get me kicked out of the beta, and I've been having too much fun.
Don't do that.
This is the first beta I've downloaded for a new set since, I want to say, Gatecrash, just because none of the sets have really excited me to the point where I've wanted to uninstall the client and then reinstall the beta client because it takes like half an hour. But let me go ahead. I want to hop in while we'll get started here. The first card is our Eldrazi, one of our Eldrazi's. It's the Eldrazi Devastator. It's an 8/9 for 8 mana, and that's it. I mean, there's no extra abilities on there or anything. Oh no, wait, that guy, he does have Trample. I had forgot that.
That's a big thing with him, right?
It is, but he fits in the Crusher slot, right, for Classic Pauper. So he's pretty much just automatically eliminated from Classic Pauper. But man, he fits into any ramp deck as your finishing beef. And
I think if you're mono green, you have the Oryx Herd, right? That looks a lot better than this.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I like him is just the flexibility to kind of cram him in wherever you want to cram him into. So
true, but how many decks play 8? Have we ever seen 8 mana spells in Standard Pauper?
No, but with the format it's going to slow down. This is designed
to slow down a lot.
This is designed to slow the format down a lot. So I think 8 might be more relevant. I think like that the big dumb green deck is going to adapt to take on some of these bigger cards, and he's a perfectly fine finisher. With 8/9, you're going to have to like block aggressively. And with as many cards as produce Scions, he's going to be able, you can really probably power him out pretty quick. So I would give him, I don't know, a B-, maybe like a C+.
Renan is listening to us from the plane, so I hope he doesn't crash it.
I hope so. I hope he doesn't either. crash it, that would be bad. I agree. Ramp will be an archetype, and there's cards. I mean, just the amount of commons that produce scions, it gets out of control really quick.
Yeah, and it says this replaces Nestle and Asp in the format.
I think it. I mean, it's close to Nessie and Asp. It lacks reach, though, and that's kind of disappointing. But we did get a giant spider, so we'll talk about that in green. So moving past rares,
yeah, I think this is dominated by Crusher in Classic Pauper, but is it the biggest creature in Standard Pauper then for the new format?
In the new format?
Or is there anything green that's bigger?
I don't believe so. I mean, there is Ruin Processor that's really close stats-wise. That's 2 cards away. But no, I don't think so. I think there could be a couple creatures that might get bigger off of landfall in green, but...
That'll be interesting. I've never seen a standard format, a standard Pauper format that allows creatures this big
no, I mean,
to be really played.
Theros let you build creatures this big, and often it's spending 8 mana by the end of it, but just to put one into play and swing with it the next turn is going to be pretty exciting. Again, I think there's not going to be a lot of faster decks that are going to be able to outmaneuver that.
Don't you still have the stuff for a fast red deck, for example?
I mean, you lose the heroic guys, and they were kind of the backbone of the deck.
But lately we've been seeing mono red decks that don't care about heroic.
I feel like if that's your concern, there's cards that allow you to stall the game out in the format, yes. And that's going to really help out. There's the 3 casting cost green card that produces 3 scions, and a red deck's going to have a pretty tough time getting around that, having that many chump blockers. You lose the ability, of course, to do anything with the colorless mana using them as chumps, but it's still really going to help out. Okay, so Kozilek's Channeler is the next card. It's a respectable 5 casting cost 4/4, nothing too spectacular there. And then it taps for 2 mana, which is not an effect you see very often on your 5-drop. So, and I had thought initially that the new Super Mind Stone card was a common, and I thought that as a 4-drop into this and as a 5-drop would be pretty sweet. It turns out that is an uncommon, unfortunately. So this and
this is a pretty significant upgrade from the 5-mana artifact that allowed you to tap for 3.
Well, yeah, because it lets you swing.
So I think this is playable for sure.
I think it's probably like in that C range where it's going to be good as maybe like a 2-of in a dedicated ramp deck. But it's not going to be the top of your curve unless... It should never be the top of your curve. Like, you really want to use it to ramp. Like, you want to play the tap elk, the whatever it is, gilded herd thing on turn 2.
Yeah.
And then some other ramp on turn 3, this on turn 4, into the Devastator on turn 6 or something like that. So it could be part of the chain, but it's going to maybe be like the least important part of the chain.
I'm glad they upgraded Rolling Thunder to
uncommon.
To uncommon, yeah.
It needed it. It should have always been an uncommon. And it's ridiculous that it was ever a common. Next up is the Ruin Processor. I believe this is the only processor we get at common, meaning that it's the least impressive of all the processors. And process is basically, if there's a card your opponent controls in exile, you can put it into your opponent's graveyard from exile, and then you get an effect. In this case, it is a 7/8 creature for 7 mana, pretty decent stats. And then if you move a card from exile to your opponent's graveyard, you gain 5 life. So it's incidental life gain on effect.
They are trying to punish me for playing 4 Treasure Cruises.
Yes. My most fun thing so far is in the beta. I played one of the processors while my opponent had something suspended. And I took his card from suspend, and I put it into his graveyard, and I got my process trigger. Because it's any card that's exiled for any reason, not just cards that you have exiled from the game. So it is going to... I wish we had a couple more that had a little better of effect as colorless processors. There's a black one and a blue one that have effect, but they're just not as potent. But I mean, this isn't too bad, even if you don't get the 5 life, because a 7/8 for 7 is pretty respectable. Again,
I heard someone mentioning this for Classic Pauper, but of course this is dominated by Fangren Marauder.
Yeah, Fangren is
5 life all the time.
I mean, it's super reliable in the deck. I mean, because if you want to play something like this in Tron, the Marauder is always better because quite often you're just gaining 10 life the turn it comes into play, and you don't care if it gets Doomblade or at that point you've really just reset the entire game.
50 life over the course of the game.
So, yes, you can journey a dude and process it. You can Oblivion Ring a dude and process it. So that's one of the kind of the neat tricks. The flash.
Whoa!
The flash journey.
So you could a Sorius Kitty thing. You could get you process the journey card and then you get journey back. Journey again.
Yes.
Woohoo!
Yes. It's any exiled card. And Magic, when they roll it out, the beta has a couple updates. Number 1, they've added the new Mulligan rule. And then number 2, because exile has become so important with processing, anytime you play a card with process on it, it automatically pulls up the exiled zone for you. So it's popped open immediately, so you don't have to screw around and look for it. You can't miss that trigger because it's popped open for you to pick the card you want to put into the graveyard if you choose to do so.
Nice.
It's really cool. And then the last common colorless card is Scour from Existence. And I'm not entirely sold on this, except for the fact that it says exile target permanent. At common, it is 7 mana, so I mean it is the priciest removal, and we don't have to worry about planeswalkers. But just that flexibility to get rid of any permanent in play and to exile it is so good.
That's a pretty steep tax for being able to do that.
I don't disagree. I'm not sure if it's going to see play, but I mean, it's super powerful. The last thing we had like that was Unmake, and that was exile target creature. And really, the cost on Unmake isn't too far off from Scour. It was kind of prohibitive.
It was played in White Weenie and Mono Black Control, so they just paid 3 mana.
Well, you're not processing your own card. If you journey to nowhere your opponent's card, then you can process. It says opponent's card.
Yeah.
But the Snapcaster Mage doesn't work because you're exiling your flashback card. Yeah, it doesn't work with your flashback stuff. Okay, so that's it for the colorless non-devoid. The rest of the colorless cards are devoid, so they're attached to colored cards. Okay, so we're moving over to white.
White.
Angelic Gift is the next card. So this is a enchantment aura, a white and a colorless. And when Angelic Gift enters the battlefield, draw a card. So automatically, I like it because it cantrips. An enchanted creature has flying. So it gives your Eldrazi angel wings. Because it's never going to give this little scrawny white dude with 2 swords flying. Why would it bother? It's going to give the 7/8 trample guy flying. And that's what it's going to be good for. But
I know a 1/1 guy that will get flying from this.
Who?
Bogle.
Oh my gosh.
This is perhaps I think the best card in the entire set for Classic Pauper. You've seen, of course, there's always the question of what to cut, but we have seen people playing Favor of the Overbeing and stuff like that.
Well, people were playing the Orzhov one that is colorless white, black, gift of the... No, I can't remember what it was called. It was from the second
I know the card.
Ravnica. So this is easier to slot in. And it's a better slot on the curve, and it draws you a card, so that's nice. So
yeah, that's a big edge actually. So I think this will at least be tested in Hexproof.
And it doesn't stop you from blocking creatures like the blue card from Theros Block did.
Exactly.
So it's not bad. I mean, in Boggles, it's probably like a B+, A-. In Standard Pauper, it's probably going to be a C, like most auras are without Heroic around. So
it is much better than Stratus Walk, mainly because it is white for Hexproof.
Yeah, it's not much better than Stratus Walk, but I mean, if you want to display white-green Hexproof,
yeah, because that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than Stratus Walks because it keeps you off the splash, and you probably want to. I mean, anytime you can consolidate a Classic Pauper deck and take out a color in an aggro deck, you really want to. So
I'm really happy this wasn't around while Theros was around in Standard Pauper.
Right, because it would have made White Heroic even stronger than it was.
Yes,
and it was pretty strong for a long time. So next up is Cliffside Lookout. It is your classic 1/1 for 1. It is the first ally. And it has an activated ability of 4 and a colorless. No tap, it's just activated. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. That is only interesting because there are a tremendous amount of cards that produce Scions in the set. And I think in Standard Pauper, Scion Rush is going to become a archetype.
Yeah, we're losing triplicate spirits, but we still have... What token makers do we still have?
We have Raise the Alarm. Still, it got reprinted in Origins.
Right.
And we have Dragon Fodder. And we have pretty much every Devoid card that has a color attached to it producing Scions. I feel like you're going to almost be able to run a deck that is on par to Watch Rights.
This is the same effect as Sunblade Elf had in
it is
15.
Yeah, it's really close, but I mean, it's attached to a common, which is nice. So,
and Sunblade Elf was pretty good in limited. I think people will try this even in Classic Pauper. For an intense... you see these white weenie builds with like 22 lands, 20 lands. And they could get there.
I mean, don't you feel, though, like, isn't a card like Fortify better just because it's instant speed and it has a little more usefulness, like, as a blocker?
It's probably better to play a Guardian's Pledge.
Yeah, something like that.
But it's still interesting that this allows you to put another creature in the deck instead of something that's a dead draw some of the time.
Right. And I mean, it is an ally, which isn't entirely irrelevant. It is probably the best core. I hate all of the core in the set. maybe just because we were spoiled by Core Skyfisher the first time around, there
It
is
should have been a rebel.
there is no comparable core this time, unfortunately.
All right, no, that makes sense.
Courier Griffin is next. It's your kind of your archetypical. Oh wait, we didn't grade that. I would give
I
that.
think we've graded like a third of the cards so far.
I've been kind of just given B pluses and Cs. I would probably give this like a C. I mean,
I think it's a C.
in the right deck, it's probably a C, maybe a C plus. Courier Griffin, 2/3 flying, for 3 colorless and a blue, and when it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life. I guess if you're running a dedicated flying deck, it's fine. I mean, I would like it more as a 3/3, but I think that makes it an uncommon now.
If the format is super slow, maybe, but I think that these stats don't see play in standard Pauper ever, do they? 2/3 flyers for 4.
They're not good enough. I mean, I think there's a 3/1 for 2 in the format still. And it doesn't fly and it doesn't gain you life, but it's way more aggressive, and it's just gonna, I mean, you're gonna play 2 of those on turn 4 as opposed to 1 of these. So this is probably like a D.
We saw 2/4/4/4 dominating standard Pauper or being really important, but that gave you a whole lot life than this.
Oh yeah, I mean, and then that had a lot better tricks to go with it, and next up is Feldark Hub. It is a 2/2 for a colorless and a white, and you sacrifice it to destroy target enchantment. So it's a functional reprint.
Functional reprint of 10 cards or something.
A million cards or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not even an ally. They could have at least done that. It would be relevant if the expedition or the retreats were common level. I think it's really in there to combat stuff like that. In standard Pauper, it's probably not going to do much, and in classic Pauper, there's a million other options already that don't really see play. So it's probably like a D, maybe sideboard.
What kind of enchantment would you want to destroy in standard Pauper now that all the enchantments leave the format?
I can't think of a single thing, but that doesn't mean that there isn't something out there.
D sideboard card.
Yeah, D sideboard card, easily. Next up is Fortified Rampart. It's a 0/6 for a colorless and a white. It is a defender. It is a hard F.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to sit there until your opponent plays something that is so much larger than it that its 6 mana is not going to matter, or the 6 toughness isn't going to matter.
The only way cards like this get played is if you can profit from the 6 toughness in some way, if you can eat it, but that doesn't happen in standard Pauper.
And I literally cannot figure out why this card was even printed. Like, the Oaked Ox, the 1 casting cost 0/4 or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's much better.
That would be much, much better, because at least it would give you something to do on turn 1.
I played that in Origins.
I've seen you play it in your video.
Yeah.
So,
now finally we learned that Sarah Angel is overpowered because we get a worse version of it.
Hey, at least it only costs 1 white, so it's splashable.
Yay!
Ghostly Sentinel, 3/3 flying, Vigilance, for 4 mana and a colorless. Perfectly reasonable, not that exciting. Probably like a C.
I think this is close to an F2, but it could be a finisher in a control deck or something, but you have better tools in this format for finishing a control deck.
I mean, I like Vigilance and flying quite a bit. I wish it was 1 mana less. Yeah. Gideon, we're not going to really go into him. That man is a bad man. If for no other reason, you can get his emblem the turn you drop him.
Yeah. This is great
Ridiculous.
reusability of a Planeswalker. If you draw multiples, you just sacrifice the first one for the emblem.
And then his +1, like even though he can't attack the first turn, you play him and you +1 him no matter what. He just +1 him. Already I hate him, and I never want to play standard while he's around. But let's talk.
Yeah, I don't think you ever +1 him, but except when you want to attack. But let's leave him and go on to his Reproach.
Go on to Reproach. Okay, Gideon's Reproach. A colorless and a white. Instant. Gideon's Reproach deals 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. I've not got to play this yet, but I mean, it looks like it's actually going to be one of the better removal spells in the set. It does not hit utility creatures, of course, but those are kind of fewer right now than they normally are in the past.
Of course, there is Celestial Flare, but this actually works well with Celestial Flare. If you have 4 mana, you can just kill the one guy and sacrifice the other.
Not only that, but you do get control over what gets eaten with this.
Yeah.
Unlike the Flare, you get full control. Even though Flare can be manipulated with playing it at the right point, you know, after blocks and all of that.
Yeah, that's my point. It can be manipulated by this as well.
I mean, so I think it makes White's removal suite probably one of the better removal suites moving forward in Standard Pauper.
Yeah, this for sure will be played. Is it even a B?
I would say this is a B.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because there's going to be a lot of attacking. And just even 2 of these, 4 mana takes out both of those Eldrazi's we talked about. So, next up is Inspire Charge, which I do feel like that's a reprint.
It could be.
So 2 colorless, white. Instant creatures you control get +2/+1 until end of turn. If it's not a reprint, it's really close to a functional reprint.
Again, what's the card in Origins?
Origins, that was Gideon's Tactics. That was a sorcery. It only costs 3. So white, and a colorless.
Yeah.
So this is one more for the ability to do it as an instant. Again, I think Scion Rush is going to become a thing, but white doesn't have any Scion producers. So there are better options than to have to splash into white. But maybe in like a white-red token producing deck. So, but I think it's probably like a C. There's other effects like it in the format already, and I'm not sure how much play they're going to see after the token heavy Theros rotates out. So,
yeah, I think it's a D at best.
I won't disagree with that. So, speaking of Ds and maybe even Fs, is Kiteskull Scout. 1/1 flying for 1 white mana, folks.
Yeah, it gets better with Inspire Charge.
I just don't understand why these cards keep seeing print. At least make it like a 1/2.
That's the point.
It's what?
It's a skill tester.
I mean, I guess skip sprites and flying men have been around forever, but like it's just unplayable. It's an F.
I think it's a D in Standard Pauper. It can see play in very aggressive decks.
In Classic Pauper, it does let you ninja the deep hours on the second turn, so it's an A there.
A lot of cards let you do that.
Okay, Core Castigator here. See, 3/1 for a colorless and a white. So it's what white weenies have become very slowly. Well, basically over like the last 6 sets or so. And it can't be blocked by Scion tokens, which is actually kind of maybe semi-relevant because you really don't want to trade your 3/1 creature for a 1/1 token that another creature on the other side just happened to produce. So it's actually not bad. I would give it.
So has the 3/1 seen play lately? 3/1s for 2.
I don't think so far, but I think the format changing to being a lot slower. I think if there's going to be like a rushy aggro deck, it's going to be built on the back of these type of cards. And that ability to get around a 1/1 token and not have to trade a real card for it is actually going to be relevant So this is probably going to be the best one of the bunch.
All right.
So I would give it like a C plus.
I'll give it a C minus.
C minus? Good.
Not impressed.
Next up is Lilomancer's Focus. Lilomancer's Focus, sorry. And it's an instant for colorless, or for blue, for white. I'm sorry, I've been up forever and it's late, so I apologize. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to that creature this turn by colorless sources.
Congratulations, white aggro decks. You had God's Willing, now you have Lithomancer's Focus.
I've got blown out by that now playing on the beta a couple of times. And it is actually really relevant. The second ability, +2/+2, is kind of just run-of-the-mill for pump. But the ability to, basically, it's protection from colorless sources.
Yeah, and if you play a white aggro deck in Standard Pauper, you are not relying on combat tricks, unless they are God's Willing level combat tricks.
Right, and that's rotating out.
So I'd say this is a sideboard card.
I would say it's probably like a D minus, maybe a D. How often do you really sideboard inside combat tricks?
That's if you're playing against a deck with only colorless creatures, I can see that this would be useful. But you probably don't have room for it in your sideboard anyway.
Yeah.
So blah.
Yeah. First rally card is the Magicgathering Patrol. It is a 2/3 for 2 colorless and a white. Has Rally. Rally is the improved ally ability. Whenever the patrol or another ally enters the battlefield under your control, creatures you control gain vigilance until end of turn. It's not the most exciting of the abilities, but
it's a filler ally, right?
It is. It's kind of where you want it to be on the curve for its stats, and like in limited, it's probably going to enable a pretty decent like strike before your alpha strike, as kind of just like, all my creatures have vigilance, and then next turn I have an extra creature when I play my next ally, and they'll all have vigilance, and first strike, and lifelink, and double strike, and whatever you manage to build up.
A good opinion on Lithomancer's Focus, by the way. It could fit a prowess deck.
It could fit
That's
in a
of course
prowess deck.
relevant.
I'm not sure if there's going to be a prowess deck left. Unfortunately, it just feels like these cards are going to really kind of override cons because they're a lot more focused than cons. But on the patrol, C minus,
D.
B or D?
D.
Okay.
D as in David.
Okay. Undo Great Horn is next. It's a 2/3 for 3 colorless and a white, so already it's got problems. First strike.
Yes.
And landfall, and its landfall trigger gives it +2/+2 until end of turn. A 4/5 first strike for 4 mana isn't bad. A 2/3 first strike for 4 mana is pretty bad.
So what ways are there to abuse landfall?
Evolving Wilds.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
They can even reprint us Terramorphic Expanse, so we can have both Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse. There's a couple green spells that let you play extra lands, but
you have to have them. No, one of them fetches them.
But it costs 3 mana.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not really gonna. I don't think it's gonna be abusable. I'm not impressed with any of the landfall cards, any rarity in the set.
I think they were very scared about the problems of Zendikar Limited, so
I
they really nerfed the landfall creatures.
I kind of hope when Oath comes out, maybe it'll tie together and they'll pump it all up. But I would consider that guy to be a D. Yeah. Undo Rising is next. This is our first Awaken. It's a colorless and a white.
It's an uncommon.
Oh shoot! It is an uncommon. Moving on to Planeruler Outburst. No, I'm joking.
Shadow Glider.
Shadow Glider. is a 2/2 flying for 2 colorless and a white. See, that's a core. The core.
It's a D. These cards you don't see people playing Windrakes in standard poker.
They're just, well, Brennan does when they're blue and he's playing an all blue deck, but
yeah, sounds like a D to me.
Yeah, straight up. Sheer Drop is the first Awaken card. 2 colorless and a white. It's a sorcery, destroy target tapped creature, and then if you play 5 and a white, you awaken, and that puts 3/1/1 counters, awaken 3/1/1 counters on a land, and it becomes a elemental creature, and it has haste.
Is this what removal has come to? Do we need to play cards like this because we don't have any better cards?
You know, as just the removal aspect, it's not horrible because it is so inexpensive. You're never gonna... I just can't imagine you're gonna pay 6 mana to destroy a creature and get a 3/3. I just feel like that's way overcosted. And again, it turns your land on to being able to be removed from the game, basically. There's better ones.
I think Awaken is better than it looks on first viewing.
I mean,
because as you can stack them, you can get other benefits from the +1/+1 counters.
My thing about it is to get the effect to actually be able to attack with the land the turn you play this. You have to play it on the 7th turn. That's not missing land drops to get the hasty effect off the land. So that's best case scenario. I think if you're playing this, you're playing it because it's quasi limited condition removal for 3 mana and whites.
And white may be needing this. Right?
Yeah.
You have the Reproach, you have Celestial Flare, and then you have this.
And you have the next card, which is a reprint of Spite the Monstrous.
Yes.
Instant, 3 colorless and a white. Destroy target creature with 4 power or greater. Super relevant in the upcoming format.
It's so expensive.
Yeah, but it's unconditional removal for all the fatties.
Yeah,
all of the fatties.
Double the cost of Reprisal.
Is Reprisal legal?
No.
Okay. So, but I mean, the grading system's new for this show. So Shadow Glider's a D. Sheer Drop is probably like a C-, I would imagine.
Yeah, I give the C.
And then Smite the Monstrous is a sideboard card.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah. Stonehaven Medic is a 1/3 for a colorless and a white. White tap, gain 1 life. Why did they make that cost mana?
That's really evil, but this is a card that buys time against the aggro decks.
It is,
for sure.
And it's the white-black deck is vampires that gain abilities when you gain life. And if that becomes a deck, this guy is really playable. If that doesn't
Lightning Strike is gone, so he's not gonna die.
No. So I would give this like a D+, maybe just a D.
I think it's a C, actually. I think this is exactly what you want in a lot of decks.
Yeah, I mean, the format's going to be so slow anyway. I don't know, like, what you gain from slowing it down even more.
I think there might be a counter-reaction and weeks where aggressive decks are all over the place, and then you will main deck this.
Which is probably true. Last white card, Tandem Tactics. Very odd because it feels very Theros. It's an instant for a colorless and a white. Up to 2 target creatures each get +1/+2 until end of turn, and you gain 2 life.
Yeah, that's a weird card.
It is a very strange card. It is a pretty decent... not aggressive combat trick, probably like defensive combat trick. And white doesn't really want to play defensive combat tricks, so it's probably like a D. I can't imagine, again, sideboarding in a combat trick for really any reason.
I can't imagine the deck that wants this, but it sure does a lot for 2 mana.
It does. At common, But when you look back at all these other white cards, what do you really gain for playing it? Nothing. Really nothing. So
You win 2 fights in the best of worlds.
yeah. So I give it a D.
I give the D minus. New
Moving
color.
blue. Okay, so anticipate reprinted again.
Moving on.
I like it. I'll play it. Benthic Infiltrator. It's a 1/4 for 2 colorless and a blue. It is devoid, so it has no color. It has ingest, so whenever it hits your opponent, that a player exiles the top card of his or her library, and it cannot be blocked.
Is there anything you can put on this to make it relevant?
You can put Goblin Warpaint on it, which got a reprint in this set.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's cute.
I don't really think so. The equipmental kind of is no good, but it does fuel ingest decks, which could become a thing.
Ingest doesn't do anything in Standard Pauper, right? People will be removing cards left and right with the cards. So you will have exiled cards most of the time. This enables the processors, but that's all it does.
It does, but there's a few good processors. One in particular in blue that we'll get to here in just a little bit.
Yeah, but surely there are better ways to enable the processor than to spend your third turn playing this and then hitting for 1.
There are quite a few cards with just incidental exile on them that are probably better. But, I mean, a 1/4 for 3 in blue isn't... I mean, if blue wants a game to go long, that's not horrible. There's no 3 casting cost counterspell in the set. And I don't know if there's going to be one in the format after Cancel rotates out.
Okay, the chat says that there are a lot of ways to give this 2 more power, but I don't think that's very exciting either.
Yeah.
You can still hit it with all the white removal that hits attackers.
I don't see red-blue being the ingest deck. It's going to be black-blue.
But you have that +2 thing from Origins in black.
Oh, you do? See, that's not too bad.
Oh, whatever it's called.
So, I mean, I give this guy probably like this a C.
I'll give it a D. I want to see a deck for this before I consider it.
Next up is Brilliant Spectrum. 3 colorless and a blue for a sorcery, which I hate. Converge. So, draw X cards where X is the number of colors of mana is spent to cast Brilliant Spectrum, then discard 2 cards. So at most in a 5-color deck, you're going to be drawing 4 cards and discarding 2 cards. And
yeah, but can you play a deck with 4 colors in Standard Pauper?
I don't know.
Maybe green enables it?
I think it's going to, if you do, it's going to be a 5-color green deck. And even then, I think it's going to feel wobbly. It feels like something that Roberto is going to build. And whether or not it succeeds, he's still going to absolutely love it. I know he's in the chat.
Roberto, if you build it, I will play it. I think drawing 4 cards and discarding 2 for 4 mana is extremely powerful.
I mean, I think it's pretty decent, and as long as Cruz is still around, it really, I mean, this...
Oh, 4 Brilliant Spectrums, 4 Treasure Cruise.
I mean, this makes your Cruz the next turn, basically. So it's not bad. Again, with all card draw, I wish it was an instant for that much mana. I give that a C.
I think this is a card I heard discussed for Classic Pauper actually, and I think that's just not gonna happen. But I give it a B for Standard Pauper. I think this is super powerful actually.
Okay. Moving over to Cloud Manta. It's a 3/2 flying fish for 3 colorless and a blue, and I give that just a D.
Yeah, this has been played though. Putting the 3 on the power means that it could be played in Standard Pauper, but not very often.
It's 4 casting cost.
Yeah, but we've seen 4 mana 3/2 flyers being played before.
I just don't care for it. I'd rather my like flying deck be more compact than that. In a
I'll
trade,
give the C minus.
I give it a C. Um, Clutch of Currents. This is probably my favorite Awaken card because it's got the unsummon effect. Blue, return target creature to its owner's hand, and then 4 colorless and a blue to awaken 3. So early game, it's your bounce, it's your tempo play, and then into the middle game, it gets you a creature in a control deck. It's almost like having Stocking Stones attached to an unsummon, which is, I think Stocking Stones actually was 1 more mana to activate into a creature. So if blue control does become a thing, this is probably going to be one of the cards that can fuel it.
We're losing the benefits of returning creatures to their owner's hands because Heroic is gone.
Right,
but some creatures do have counters and stuff.
I mean,
so...
you do notice that this doesn't say non-land creature.
Yeah, of course not.
So you can return other awakened lands and stuff, which is like a pretty good tempo play. So I like it. Again, I give it a C, unless like a really good control deck rises up, and then it probably is going to go up in power.
We saw the 1 mana thing from M15 being played, but that was just because of Heroic. So I don't really see a reason to play that unless you are dedicated a Awaken deck, so I'm giving it a D.
Okay.
But just returning a creature to its owner's hand at sorcery speed is not very good.
I mean, there are still going to be cards with counters that people invest into. And yeah, sorcery speed, although I believe all the Awaken cards are sorcery speed because they don't want you creating creatures out of nothing in the middle of combat. So, next up is Coralhelm Guide.
Yeah.
2/1, colorless and a blue. And then it has the I don't know, the rogue effect on it. I don't know what you would call that at this point. 4 colorless and a blue. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. That's probably just like a D-. It's just too expensive for that effect.
Depends on how much you really want things to get through. But if you do, you are probably very aggressive, and 5 mana is a ton.
I mean, it's
so
just...
2/1 for 2 isn't that horrible.
Hey Dan, the stream died.
Alright, it tends to do that.
Okay. Brennan,
You'll come back.
Brennan said Awaken won't be a thing in standard Pauper. He won't hear of it.
Oh, he means he doesn't hear the stream.
Oh, okay. Let's see. What's next? Lots of stuff. Dispel. We can just say that's a sideboard card.
Yeah, perfect sideboard card.
I love the art on it. Jace just like doing his Jedi mind trick on some lightning.
I think we need to speed up a little.
I think we do too. Eldrazi Sky Spawner is a 2 casting cost blue flying creature with the Void. And when it comes into play, you put a 1/1 Eldrazi Scion token into play. I like that in flying decks. I probably give that like a C+. The Scion, Incidental Scion is pretty good.
Yeah, 3 power for 3, 2 has flying. Sounds good.
Yeah. C. Yeah, Brennan will love it. Next up is Incubator Drone. 2/3 for 3 colorless and a blue. It has Devoid. And then when it comes into play, again, Incidental 1/1 Scion token comes into play. So it's 3/4.
That's pretty bad, though, unless you really, really need your Eldrazi Scion.
I mean, it's not the best of the bunch, but it does allow a little bit of blue ramp. I give it probably like a C-.
I'll give it a D-.
D-, excellent.
Yeah. Not impressed.
Mist Intruder, 1/2 flying Devoid with Ingest for a colorless and a blue. Playable completely. I kind of like it. The format is lacking in 2-drops.
Yeah, but what will you do with this creature? You will just have a 1-power creature for 2 mana and it will suck.
It will, but in blue, sucky creatures are kind of the rule. again, though, I give it a C minus. I might defend it, but I'm not
I
fueled.
think it's an F. I will
Really?
never ever play this.
We'll see.
Yeah, but there's no upside at all.
I know Brennan loves it. Merc Strider is next. This is one of the processors that Common has. So 3 colorless and a blue for a 3/2 with Devoid, of course. And when it enters the battlefield, you can put an exiled card your opponent controls into their graveyard. And if you do, it has the Mana War effect of returning a creature to your opponent's hand.
Did the guy from Origin see any play in Standard Pauper?
No, but it was really ineffective against like all of the token producers. Now that creatures are going to be real creatures, I think something like this could be a lot more potent. Plus, it is a 3/2, so it's not bad.
Yeah, 3 power makes all the difference. The question is how hard it is to set up. But this has potential. I think it's a C.
We've come across quite a bit that does exiling. And again, I think in a dedicated ingest deck, it's probably a C. So, next up is kind of a weird card. It's Oracle of Dust. It's a 4 colorless and a blue for a 3/5. It has Devoid, of course. And you pay 2, put a card your opponent controls from exile into their graveyard, draw a card, and discard a card.
The only way this would see play is that if you wanted to do this, if you had like a Journey to Nowhere like trick in Standard Pauper.
And you don't.
So it's an F.
It would have to be in a thoroughly dedicated processing deck, and then it's probably like a C minus, but it's pretty unplayable.
Would you play 3/5 for 5 in Standard Pauper ever?
I would play...
For 2 mana effect. Of course it's repeatable, so that may be abusable in some way.
I mean, I would play it as a 1 of or a 2 of.
Hey, it enables Treasure Cruise.
It does, and Treasure Cruise enables it. It's symbiotic. It enables Treasure Cruise. Treasure Cruise enables it. No, your opponent's cruises do, but it's still. I think it's okay. It's not great. I would give it like that D sort of range. So. Speaking of D range, Royal Maze's Trick, 3 colorless and a blue. Converge, creatures your opponents control get -X/-0 until end of turn. Rex is the number of colors of mana spent to cast Royal Maze's Trick. Draw a card. I just want to play that for blue, for the 4 mana just to draw an extra card. And not even think about it. I just think it's kind of dumb.
Okay, Royal Mage Trick.
Yeah. I mean, I would give that like a D minus. I don't even think it's sideboard worthy. It might just be an F.
Yeah, it's an F.
Yeah. Rush of Ice is another Awaken. So blue, tap target creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So I call that like a sleep effect. Awaken 3 for 4 colorless and a blue. It depends on how aggro heavy the format becomes, whether these type of tricks see any play.
Yeah, can you do it in template? I heard this discussed for Delver in Classic Pauper, but that would be put in the snap spot, and that seems pretty rough.
No.
But Delver has 5 mana a lot of the time, actually.
Oh, they would play this over snap?
Yeah.
I think
something.
That's goofy. I mean,
maybe you could play it over one of the creature number 19 or 20.
You could play like 1 to 2 of them, but I would rather just play the Vapor Snag and get that accidental 1 extra point of damage when you need it. So,
but actually keeping something down for 2 attacks, that seems pretty strong in Delver.
Yeah, I guess that's not bad.
And I think this is definitely a way for the aggro decks. If there is such a thing as a blue aggro deck in Standard Pauper, they will play this card, because this will give you the time you need.
I mean, and if it does, if blue is an aggro deck color, Brennan will try to play it. But I give it like a C minus, maybe a D plus.
Okay, I'm giving it a C plus. I think this will be played.
Excellent. Next up is Salvage Drone, 1/1 for 1 with the Void Ingest. And then it has a Sage ability, kind of. When it dies, you draw a card and then you discard a card. So it does full cruise.
Is that a third of a card, or is it as powerful as a Scry? Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's maybe a little more powerful because it does put the card in your hand. But it's probably still not great, so like D- range.
Yeah, D-. I
mean, it's a 1/1 for 1, so that automatically kind of cuts it out at the knees, right? So.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
Next up is Spell Shrivel, the most expensive common so far in the set.
Also, a card I had heard discussed in Classic Poker, which I don't understand at all, actually.
I mean, one extra mana doesn't make it better than Mana Leak. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. But 2 colorless and a blue. Counter target spell unless its controller plays 4. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. It's good. It's probably going to see play in control decks in Standard Pauper. I can't imagine it really making it into Classic Pauper because countering things at 3 mana feels like you're playing the format wrong.
But is there a counterspell that exiles in Classic Poker?
I don't believe so. That's normally left for uncommons.
So maybe this could be relevant somewhere.
Syncopate or Condescend does. Whichever one doesn't scry.
Okay.
But that's an X counter, and those are not as reliable.
So this might be a D?
Yeah, D sideboard, and a dedicated control deck, probably a C. So, next up is Tightening Coils. This garbage. Enchant Aura, colorless and a blue. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets -6/-0 and loses flying. That's just a hard F. They keep trying to push that on blue, and it's just never playable. Wavewing Elemental is a 3/4 flying landfall for 5 colorless and a blue. And when a land enters the battlefield, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. For 6 mana, I can't imagine anybody ever playing that in any format outside of maybe
you have to have a super big effect to be played at 6 mana.
I think that's just a hard F.
Yeah.
On the black. Altars reprint. With all the Scion tokens, I think it's going to be pretty decent. Black colorless. When you play it, you have to sacrifice a creature, and then you draw 2 cards. So probably a C. Just because
the cards you get a benefit from sacrificing look pretty attractive with this one.
I think just the fact that there's so many things that just poop out Scion tokens that turning a Scion token into 2 cards for 2 mana is just going to be pretty nice. Bone Splinters seems like
we're losing Sign in Blood, right?
Yeah, we lose Sign in Blood. They replaced it with Read the Bones.
Yeah.
So it is 2 cast, and it's instant, so that has it going as well. So
C- for Altars Read.
Yeah, I would go C. I like Altars Read quite a bit. Bone Splinters is back. Sacrifice a creature for a black mana and destroy target creature. So it's unconditional removal the way the black gets it now.
For 1 mana.
Yeah, so it's probably a B+. Just because it's so darn effective.
Strong, especially with the cards. Do we still have Black Cat?
I think we lose Black Cat, but we get Deathbridge Shaman.
Yeah, and we have the... my mind stopped. The Raised Dead guy.
Yeah, the Raised Dead guy is pretty good, so...
And we have the blue draw card guy.
Yeah, so, I mean, just that blue draw card guy that we just talked about. That gives him life. So, so I get B+, A-, just because it's really close to unconditional removal. So, Complete Disregard. I've been really liking this. 2 colorless and a black instant. The Void. Exile target creature with power 3 or less. and that's actually super good. The exile on it is super nice. So I would give that like a B just because it does have the 3 or less condition on it.
It's pretty expensive, but I give the B minus. And I think this is a card that will see sideboard play in Classic Poker because it solves a problem for mono black control. That the classic matchup between mono black control and white weenie suddenly became, if that is a thing, if that will be a thing again, this solves the problem.
It kills Guardian of the Guild Pact.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah, because it's colorless and it kills Guardian of the Guild Pact, which is
That's
always a
I was
problem
thinking of the Pump Knights and stuff, but Guardian of the Guild Pact is even better to kill.
And it's instant, so you can do it the turn they go to equip their Bone Splitter. So, I mean...
Nice.
Yeah, so I like it. I give it... I think it's still got to be in like that B range just because it has that 3 or less condition on it. But it's super good. I can't imagine playing a black deck in Standard Pauper without at least a couple of them and a couple more on the board. So.
Roberto hates the name. But this is a good card.
Yeah, it's a super good card. Next up is Calling Drone. 2/2 for 2, a colorless and a black, devoid, and ingest. Really simple. It's your black bear in the set. It's a C minus.
I think it's an F. You don't play bears in Standard Poker. If you do, you're dead.
If you're trying to outrace fatties, you might have to.
No, I don't think so. I don't think you're turning to the bears for that.
Okay, I'll join you, but I won't go as harsh as you. I'll go like D.
Yeah. Moving on.
Demon's Grasp. It is flatten or trample or whatever. Again,
yeah, for 5 mana, I have to kill stuff.
Yeah, so it's a D plus.
D minus.
D minus, yeah.
This won't see play as an F.
Yeah, it's not good. Dominator Drone, 3/2 for 2 colorless and a black, devoid, ingest. And when it comes into play, if you control another colorless permanent, you gain, each opponent loses 2 life. I don't see that really happening, or unless it's outside of a dedicated deck. It's probably just a filler, dude. It's probably just like that C minus range.
Yeah, this could be the creature you turn to if you want to try to rush the the big guys.
I mean,
I give it a C minus as well.
It's a 3-drop. It's a 3-drop though.
Yeah, but the 3-drop with 3 power is much more relevant than a 2-drop with 2 power.
It's not bad. It's probably just that C minus range. Next up is Dutiful Return. I feel like this is a reprint, or at least functional. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand for 3 colorless and a black. It's a sorcery. Nothing spectacular. Filler, probably like D.
It's a sideboard card when Font of Return leaves the format.
Yeah. Geyserfeld Stalker is the black landfall dude. 3/2 for 4 colorless and a black. It has Menace and Landfall. All the common landfalls, I think, just do the +2/+2, which is not exciting. I don't think this is good. I would give this an F.
If there was a way to abuse landfall,
there's nothing that isn't so like on. You would want rampant growth or something like that, and there's nothing like that available, so it doesn't really make it abusable.
It's pretty big, but yeah, I think it's a D minus.
Next up is Grave Birthing. 2 colorless and a black for an instant with the void. Target opponent exiles a card from his or her graveyard, and you get a Scion token, and you draw a card.
Yeah, those are 2 nice effects, but I don't think they add up to 3 mana, and I think this is a typical card you will cut when you finish your deck.
I kind of feel like if Graveyard Shenanigans become a thing, it's going to be a good sideboard card, but any other situation, it's unplayable. Yes. So, but I mean, we're 3 colors in, basically, and we have yet to see anything that mentions the graveyard. So... But if it does...
Oh, Dutiful Return mentioned it.
Huh?
Dutiful Return mentioned it.
Yeah, there's one. But I mean, that's not really shenanigans. That's somebody spending their 4th turn, or whenever, returning 2 creatures they just have to recast. I mean, that's not all that great. Okay, Black Ally, Callistra Hiller. It's a
Yeah.
1/2 for a black and a colorless. Has Rally, so whenever another ally or it comes into play, each opponent loses 1 life and gains 1 life. This is your Grim Spectre or whatever that card from Theros was with Constellation card. People will try to build around it, and it's not going to be all that great. Plus, it's super fragile.
If this cost 1 mana, it would have made my modern allies deck. I would have tested it there.
If it was like a 1/3, I think it would be even better, but I don't think it's all that great.
I think this effect is pretty powerful if you're running a 20+ allies deck. But,
it could be, but I mean, the rest of the allies in Standard Pauper aren't anything to write home to mom about, so...
So I'm giving this a C+ if there is an allies deck.
I'll give it...
There probably isn't.
I'll just give it a D+. Because
it took away allies' ability to be good.
Yeah. And the black allies are pretty much just all unplayable. Like this next one, which is Callistra Nightwatch, a 4/5 for 4 colorless and a black. And whenever you gain life, it gains flying until end of turn. It doesn't even have a rally ability on it. And I don't understand why it wouldn't have something. But it's the white-black draft archetype, which is life gain.
Yeah.
So I just give that probably like a D-.
Yeah, D- at best.
Mindraker is the black processor. So 3/3 for 3 colorless and a black. When it comes into play, you exile the card into your opponent's graveyard, and then if you do, each opponent discards a card.
And then it's a giant ravenous rat.
It's a big rat, but it feels like on turn 4, if it was like look at your opponent's hand and choose and discard a non-land card or something, I feel like it could be pretty powerful, but I think it's maybe just a little bit too slow.
Is there any way to reuse Enter the Battlefield in the format?
I mean, there's a few bounce spells, but no, like, creatures that do it reliably. No, like, temporal adapts or anything like that.
But we already know that people will be having a lot of cards in their hands on turn 4.
That is true. I mean, but they're more than likely just going to pick whichever card they're furthest away from casting and pitch it, and still leave all the gas in their hand.
And if Awaken is a thing, this guy blocks Awaken guys.
Trades really well. I mean, it's still probably just like a D+, maybe a C-.
I think it's a C-.
Yeah, C- sounds good. Myers Malice, for the exact same casting cost, 3 colorless and a black. Target opponent discards 2 cards, so it's your Mind Rot variant with 5 and a black to awaken 3. I actually prefer the common from Origins that is the Mind Rot Distress or Duress combination for 4 better.
We still have a 3 mana card that discards 2 cards, right?
Yeah, Rishkasha's Secret, and that even feels Delve. So this is probably just like a hard like D- F sort of situation.
Yeah, if you cast it on turn 6, get the land, take 2 8-mana Eldrazi from your opponent. Living the dream.
Yeah, living the dream.
It's a D.
Nurkana's Assassin. Some of these words, man. 2 colorless and a black for a 2/3. And again, it's an ally, but it doesn't have an ally ability. It has whenever you gain life, it gains Death Touch until end of turn. So, again, I mean, it's on curve for black, and so it's probably like a C-, but it's not anything spectacular. I mean...
I don't think it's on curve either.
I mean, it's a 2/3 for 3 in black.
Yeah, but that's far too weak to see play in Standard Pauper.
I don't disagree. I mean, it's just kind of...
You don't see the blank 2/3s for 3 get seen play.
What would you grade it?
I don't see a reason to play this
okay.
at all. So D- perhaps?
Yeah, D- is pretty good. Speaking of D-, Silent Skimmer is a 0/4 flying with the Void for 3 colorless and a black. And whenever it attacks, defending player loses 2 life.
So it's a 2/4 flyer, pretty much.
It is,
but... you can't block stuff and kill it.
Ugh. When you put it like that, it's probably a C.
I think it's a D.
Yes, it's a D. It might even be a D minus.
I think it's better than the 2-3 actually.
It's better than the 2-3, but like not by so much.
Okay, moving on.
Sludge Crawler 1/1 for black, devoid, ingest, and pay 2 colorless. Sludge Crawler gets 1/1 until end of turn, so it's kind of like your classic shade ability.
Except that it costs 2.
Yeah, and I mean to make it into a 3/3, you have to pay 4 mana. It's probably just straight unplayable. It's probably like that, again that F plus D minus range.
Yeah, if my opponent played this against me, I would be very happy.
I would not.
Imagine they have this ramp deck and they now have 12 mana, and this is their payoff.
Yeah, that not good.
Yeah.
Swarm Surge. This is the card that makes me think that Scion Swarm is going to become a deck. Swarm Surge is a sorcery, 2 colorless and a black, devoid. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn, and colorless creatures you control also gain first strike until end of turn.
I hate Trumpet Blast, but I've been defeated by it many a time. And giving first strike just takes away the disadvantage of Trumpet Blast.
I mean,
so this is definitely a corner piece of the Scion deck, if there is such a thing.
I think it's a C, and it's like a B plus in the Scion, or B minus in the Scion deck, and like a D plus in every other deck. It's probably just straight unplayable in any other deck, really.
Yeah, I think so too. But in the Scion deck, it will be pretty good.
I think this is the last black card here. Yeah, it is the Ferocious Null, 2/2, 2 colorless and a black, and it's like a Nantuko Husk variant, colorless and a black.
But it's permanent.
It is permanent, but it does cost. Sacrifice another creature, put 2 1/1 counters on Ferocious Null. Activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery, so you can't do it to save it. That probably alone right there, plus having to pay for the ability, makes it like closer to a D than to a B.
With the risk of sounding like limited resources, I think this is a build around. I really want to experiment with this card and just put in all the things that you gain a benefit from sacrificing.
Well, I mean, that we already have Extort in the format, and I don't know how much play it's getting. I mean,
True.
It's probably going to start getting more play upon rotation, but we're going to move over to red. After red, we have green. I think there's a couple artifacts. There's a few lands.
We have 17 minutes.
Okay. Moving quick. Belligerent Whiptail, 4/2, 3 colorless and a red. Well, 17 minutes with you, but I'll finish up if you have to go. Landfall. This one doesn't give...
The stream won't be around.
That's fine. Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, it gains first strike until end of turn. That's kind of just a red thing now. A 4/2 with first strike conditionally. It's probably a C.
Yeah, I think it is. If there will be red-green monster decks and stuff like that, this is a thing.
Next up is Boiling Earth. It's the Awaken 1 damage board wipe. It's colorless and a red. Rolling Earth deals 1 damage to each creature your opponent controls with Awaken 4 for 6 colorless and a red. It's a sideboard card, even without...
Imagine being on the receiving end of this. If you're playing a Scion deck,
if you're playing,
this is the game.
Yeah. So it just shuts you down.
Yeah, it's a very good sideboard card.
It is. It's a good sideboard card even without the Awaken. Goblin Warpaint. We're not even going to really talk about that.
Actually, I think this in certain decks, Boiling Earth will see play in Classic Pauper.
I mean, but Classic Pauper has other options already. It has Electrickery, which is an instant.
Yeah, but how often do you use it as an instant?
I mean,
it's not. That's not the problem often with an effect like this.
Normally, when I cast it, it's been as an instant, but I'm just a fiend for instants. So,
for example, if you're playing Rugtron and you have Electricris, I could see playing this and occasionally getting a 4/4 is a pretty big upside.
It is in that one particular instance, in that one particular deck that can afford all that mana.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it quite a bit.
So what would you give it?
It's a sideboard card, but it's a very good one.
Yeah.
I'd even say it's an A sideboard card.
It isn't. I mean, most sideboard cards are A's coming out of the board.
Yeah.
So, Goblin Warpaint just got reprinted. Didn't see any play. I can't really see it seeing play now. So I'm just going to say it's an F. It's a aura with no upside, like no draw a card or anything. So
I agree. Moving on.
Kozilek Sentinel, 1/4 for a colorless and a red. Devoid, and whenever you cast a colorless spell, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. If there were some one casting cost colorless spells, this could be like, you know, Nivik Cyclop, Kelfiend level, but there's not. So
it has to be +2/+0 to be that. So +1/+0 is
trash.
Pretty weak.
Yeah. D-.
And it's not a colorless creature or something that you could actually like get several activations from one card. But it's a spell, so it still blocks fairly reliable for just 2 mana.
But it's red. I mean, how much blocking do you want to do in red?
There could be a defensive red deck. For example, if you play red-green.
That would be the day. Brennan likes a Sentinel. I mean, I'm going to say it's probably a D-. I just don't feel like it's going to really become a deck, and it has to be a deck because you're not going to put it into a random red deck.
Yeah, I think this has potential, but I'll give it a D+.
Okay. Lava Step Raider, 1/2 for red, 2 colorless and a red. It gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So it actually isn't bad. Probably in a really aggressive red deck. It's probably like
a C-. For goblins in Classic Pauper. It's like, okay, I cut my 2/2s and I put this guy instead.
But Goblins in Classic Pauper is a mid-range control deck, really. It's not really an aggro deck.
Lands.
It's, that's dumb. That's dumb theory crafting, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Mankindi...
and you don't want this as your mana sink either, because it dies to everything.
So I would give it a, I don't know, D. I think a D.
It could see play in Standard Pauper, actually. But it's a D at best.
Yeah. Mankindi Slide Runner, 2/1 for a colorless and a red. Trample whenever it has landfall, and it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. If there was a reliable way to make it like a 4/3, it would probably be pretty decent. There's not, so it's probably like a D.
I think this will be played in if you build a red aggro deck to take down these slow decks. This is a corner piece in it. Because it will have 3 power, attacking on turn 3. And maybe some of the time you get in that Evolving Wilds for your second color that you have for some reason. I think it's still, it's a C for me.
Okay, I mean, that's not
3 power, getting 3 power for 2 mana is pretty sweet.
It isn't bad. It isn't bad. Next up is Nettle Drone. 3/1 for 2 colorless and a red. Devoid, tap, deals 1 damage to each opponent, and whenever you cast a colorless spell and you untap it, if that hit creatures, it wouldn't be that bad. It is a 3/1 for 3, which isn't horrible, but it does die to literally any block. D+ for me on that. It probably has build around potential.
Yeah, I think this is very powerful, getting in 2 damage a turn. Without having to attack, and if it attacks, it can get in more.
Yeah, I just feel like there's so many ways to interact with a 1 toughness creature.
There is.
That makes me less likely to want to play it.
This was one of the parts that really actually got me thinking when I looked at this. So I'm giving it a C+, and I have high hopes that someone breaks this.
I give it a D+, because I could breathe on it and it will die. And I'm not a planeswalker. I'm just a chubby dude with a beard. So next up is Ondu Champion. It's a 4/3, 2 colorless, red. It's an ally. So it's got a rally ability when it or an ally comes into play. Creatures you control gain trample until end of turn.
We know which deck wants this.
Yeah, ally deck.
Or a red-green deck. We paid 6 mana to get everyone trample.
You know what? Since it does everything now, that's not bad. That would probably be pretty good in a Gruul fatty deck. So
yeah, I think this guy will be around. I think this is a B-.
Yeah, it's probably a B minus. Outnumber is an instant red, weird red removal. Deals damage to target creature equal to the number of creatures you control. In like the Scion Rush deck, you're not going to be playing red in that deck. I don't know where this goes. Maybe in Red Goblins or something like that. It feels like Scred, where you really have to work to set it up, but Scred's easier because you're playing lands anyway.
Yeah, this is horrible. We've seen this before.
Yeah, so it's probably just an F.
I think so.
Reckless Cohort is a 2/2.
It's a bear with the downside.
It's a bear. It has to attack if you don't control another ally. That's just an F.
It's in red, but it's still an F.
Yeah. Rolling Thunder. Nope. Sorry. Scatter Skull Recruit is another ally. It's a 4/4 for 3 colorless and 2 red, and it has Menace. This is what Sarah Angel has become.
Yeah, if it's easier to get to 5 mana now, this might be a thing.
It's not bad. I mean, it's solid, and Menace is pretty decent. I mean, if anything, it's going to eat 2 smaller blockers as it goes out. So I don't mind it. It's probably like, you know, that C- sort of range. So,
yeah, I agree.
Stone Fury, 3 colorless red instant, deals damage.
Here's your Scred.
Yeah, deals damage to target creatures equal to the number of lands you control. 5 mana. I guess it's going to do 5 damage to 1 creature. But I feel like there's better bargains elsewhere. So that's probably like an F.
Removal is bad, but is it this bad? I will be sad if you have to play this. I'll give it an F too.
Sure Strike. Colorless and a red for an instant. Target creature gets +3/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. Right when Heroic is leaving. Like most combat tricks, it's okay, but not great. Probably a C-.
Yeah, I'll mention prowess and give it a D+.
Touch of the Void. This is probably one of my more favorite cards. It's 2 colorless and a red for a sorcery. The Void. Touch of the Void deals 3 damage to target creature or player. If the creature dies, it gets exiled. So I like it because it gets around protection from everything except for the Lithomancer's Presence.
It's an upgrade to Ghostfire.
It is, just off of the exile. So, and the art's better.
When I started playing Classic Pauper, people actually played Ghostfire, but now they don't. So they will probably not play this either.
No.
It seems that 3 mana for 3 damage is what we have to pay now.
And
in Standard Pauper.
The problem is like by the time Kiln Fiend or Eye Candy or whatever you want to call it is going off, you may not have the 3 mana, or they're gonna wait until you've tapped yourself stupid, and then they're gonna go off anyway, and you're just gonna die with it in your hand.
But is this the kind of removal we have? If we don't have Lightning Strike, this looks pretty good.
No, I think it's going to be played in Standard Pauper. I just wish it was playable in Classic Pauper to get around Apostle's Blessing and that type of effect. But
yeah.
even if it was, it would just push Hexproof forward. So
which red removal spells in Standard Pauper are better than this?
Now, I don't know if there are anything better. There's anything
the Origins
better.
Card. The 1 mana spell, it's better.
Oh, the one with Spell Mastery?
Yeah.
It's slightly better because it does just cost 1. but it's
That's
basically just a
pretty
shock.
important.
Yeah. Next up
I
is
think this might be a B, actually. I think
I
that this is what you get.
I give it a B.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next up is Valkut's Invoker, one of a couple invokers.
The invokers were never relevant in standard Pauper.
2 colorless red, 2/3. 8 to deal 3 damage to target creature or player. If the format is super long, if the format is super long, it could be playable, but it's probably like a D minus.
Yeah, D minus.
Valkut Predator, 2/2 for 2 colorless and a red, and then it has the classic gains 2/2/2 on landfall. So there you go. There's a 4/4 on turn 4 for you.
This is the best of the landfall guys with +2/+2, I think.
Just because it's right there on curve.
Yes, and we see Nantuko Husk get played, so if you are 2/2 for 3, you can make it if you have a big upside.
So
doing Evolving Wilds with this thing will be pretty rough.
I mean, I would give this guy a B just because I think out of all the landfall, he has the biggest upside.
Yeah, I think that's only good enough for C+, but yeah, I agree on that.
Vestige of Emrakul, 3/4 for 3 colorless and a red, devoid trample. Pretty generic, but I mean, I like the stats, so probably C+.
It's 3/4 for 4, it's not enough, you have to have 4 power, pretty much.
I mean, it does have trample.
Yeah, but do you really want... You could get that guy that gives trample to everybody for 4 mana.
You could.
So I think this is a D minus.
Yeah, I mean, I still want to say it's like a C minus, but you're probably closer to right.
How about destroying lands at instant speed?
For 4 mana, I would still rather play a creature, but maybe it's a sideboard card, right? Volcanic.
Yeah, it has no synergy in standard Pauper, but I think this could see play in classic Pauper in some sort of sick deck.
I mean, it feels like it might, kind of screw Tron a little bit. Maybe.
Why would you want to destroy land at instant speed?
I don't. At the end of your opponent's turn?
Because you're holding up counter spells, and then, nothing to counter, I destroy your land.
That red-blue Tron deck that is based around Cloud of Faeries, I mean, I don't know. It feels weird.
Yeah, but they could just use Stone Rain.
It's probably a sideboard card, I imagine.
I don't think this will see play in standard Pauper, but I can't stop thinking about it for classic Pauper, but no, it's an F for standard Pauper.
Blister Pod is 1/1 devoid, and it has the Doom Traveler effect. When it dies, it gets replaced by a 1/1 Eldrazi Scion.
Yes.
So I love it. I love every little bit about it. It's probably like a C minus or a C, but that doesn't stop me from loving it. Just because I love the Doom Traveler effect so much.
But we aren't fighting edicts in standard Pauper, so why do we need this?
I don't know. Maybe green's going to become a defensive deck.
I think this will show up in some weird brews in classic Pauper that are looking for one more creature like this. In the last Pauper Gauntlet, I played something that ran all of these creatures, and this will make it too.
That deck was Persistently Undying, and I had submitted it. And I would put that guy into Persistently Undying and take out some of the Persist creatures.
Yay! Classic Pauper playable.
Because they just become smaller when they come back, and that's not as good.
Blister Pod plus collateral damage. Oh, that's a thing.
Blister Pod plus Altar's Reap.
Yeah.
And then Altar's Reap again.
Oh, God, this guy is awesome. C minus for him.
Yes, absolutely. Broodhunter Worm is the first vanilla creature. 4/3 for 3 colorless and a green. Nothing spectacular. Solid stats. Won't see play. C.
Childers, this on turn 3, 4 power for 4, maybe D?
Maybe D. Yeah, it just won't see play. There's just so many more exciting, better options. I mean, just one more mana gets you the Elk Herd.
True.
So, call the Scions. 2 colorless and a green. Devoid, put 2/1/1 scions onto the battlefield, or a sorcery. So Scion ramp card. This would be like one of your mechanic or engine cards for that. In that deck, it's a C. If you're going to play ramp, it's probably a C. But in you're not going to cram it into like a green aggressive deck or anything like that. So
Twin Bolt is going to be so much better now.
oh yeah, Twin Bolt's going to step up in a lot of value because it's going to become like a mini Wrath of God. But on that, I just give it a C, pretty much in the decks that you want to play it. So
I get to run to the train.
Okay.
That will kill the stream.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. I will finish up the show. So everybody from this point forward, we're at an hour and 35 minutes. So if you want to listen to me just finish up, because we're so close to the end, just skip ahead to like 1:40, and then we'll finish up from there, okay?
Alright, take care everyone.
These things
this
always
will be
go
up
so
pretty
long.
soon on the channel, right?
Yeah, I will process it tonight, and then if I can, I'll probably get it uploading before I fall asleep, and then I'll share it in the morning.
Awesome.
Okay?
Thank you. Looking forward to this set.
Yes, it's going to be awesome.
See you later.
Bye, Dan. Bye, stream. Okay, so I'm going to continue on, just kind of finishing up. Dan had to catch the train, so we had to end the stream. These things always go forever, so we even started half an hour early. But we're so close to the end, so there's not that big of a deal. Earthen Arms, put 2/1/1 counters on target permanent with Awaken 4 for 6 colorless and a green. I don't really feel like this is super playable. There's better options out of Khans, because Khans had a lot of counters. And 7 mana is kind of preposterous. I would give this probably just like a C-. Eyeless Watcher. I love Eyeless Watcher. It's the Causal X Predator variant. So 3 colorless and a green for a 1/1, which is a little bit, it's not a 3/3. Devoid, and when it comes into play, it gets 2 1/1 Scion tokens. So it's not as good as Causal X Predator because it was a 3/3, but it's still pretty decent. In the Scion Rush deck, I would probably say it's like a B, because it really is like fuel for that deck just all by itself. But even then, like if you're playing green and just want a value creature like 1 or 2 of, and the deck is probably pretty good. Giant Mantis is a 2/4 with reach for 3 colorless and a green, so it's Giant Spider. So not really anything you're going to want to play D-. Let's see. Lifespring Druid, this is what ramp looks like now. 2/1 for 2 colorless and a green, and you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. If there's going to be a 5-color Converge style deck, it's going to be built around cards like this guy. I don't like that he's so fragile. I'd rather him be like a 0/3 for 3 mana with that ability. But that being said, I would probably say it is like a B, just because it's ramp and it's 5-color ramp. So Natural Connection is your land search spell. 2 colorless and a green. Search your library for a basic land card and put it into the battlefield tapped and shuffle your library. And it's an instant, which is nice for that extra mana, but I'd still rather it be Rampant Growth or Farseek and cost 2. But that being said, it is search. It is landfall enabling, so it probably is a B. Moving along. Oran Reef Invoker. The other Invoker in the set, there were only 2. So I could only imagine in Oath, we're probably going to get the other 3. 2/2 for a colorless and a green. And then 8 mana, it gets +5/+5 and trample until end of turn. I feel like there was a creature similar in Great Gatecrash that got drafted a lot because it was a 2-drop that just happened to maybe do something late into the game. But I mean, 10 mana for a 7/7 trample, I feel like you could get a 7/7 trample for less than 10 mana in the format, so I don't think it's all that great. This is probably just like a D minus. Next up is Plummet, reprint, sideboard. Thank you. Reclaiming Vines, 2 colorless, green, green, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. That's a functional reprint of so many different cards throughout the history of Magic. It's a sorcery. It could be a sideboard card, but it's probably like a D+. Let's see. Seek the Wilds is our Commune with the Gods variant. Colorless and a green. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a creature or land from among them and put it into your hand, and then put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So it doesn't feel Delve, but this set doesn't really care to feel Delve. I mean, for that effect, it's not as good as Satyr Wayfinder because it doesn't turn on graveyard shenanigans. I would go C-. Snapping Gnarlid is a 2/2 for a colorless and a green, and then it has landfall of 1/1/1. So it's pretty decent in the deck where you're playing red-green landfall. A 3/3 on turn 3. And then again, it could be a 4/4 on turn 3 if your land is evolving wild into basic land. So it's probably like a C+. So, Swell of Growth I find incredibly interesting. I'm not sure if that means that it's good. It's an instant, colorless, and a green. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So it's like Giant Growth and Explorer crammed together without the extra card draw. It's accredited. The quote on it's Kiora, who I feel is like the weirdest planeswalker, being green and blue. I want to say that it's going to be relevant, like both parts are going to be relevant, but more than likely neither part's going to be all that relevant. It's probably going to be like a C-. But if it ends up being good to ramp or to pump in the format, because ramp is always good, but you have to have the land in hand, it's probably just like a C- no matter what. Tarjuran Beastmaster is an ally, 5 colorless and a green for a 5/5. And when it comes into play, creatures you control, it or another ally gets +1/+1 until end of turn. The problem with this guy is like, he's only a 6/6 the turn you play him, and then he just becomes a 5/5 creature for 6 mana, and that I don't think is good enough. He's probably just a D, and that's probably just it. He's probably just a D. I'm trying to think of upside for him, and I just don't feel like there is any. Tadru Stalwart this is my favorite of the Converge commons. 0/1 for 2 colorless and a green. But when it enters the battlefield, it gets 1/1/1 counters for each color of mana spent to cast it. So if you spend 3, it comes in as a 3/4 for 3. And so if there is going to be a green based 5-color deck, this guy is going to be like the crown jewel of that deck. Again, Roberto would be the one I would think would be the guy to try to build the Converge deck, and I wish him all the luck in the world. As it is in that deck, I think he's probably like a B+, A-, just because he's exactly what that deck wants to be doing from turns 3 to turn 5, or whatever range you could really cast him in. It's just a shame because most of the Converge cards, there are so few, it doesn't feel like the theme was really tied together. It just doesn't feel like it's going to be all that great. So, next up is Territorial Baloth, 4/4 for 4 colorless and a green. Whenever it has landfall and it gets +2/+2. So on turn 6, a 6/6. If you hit your land drop on turn 6, doesn't feel all that exciting. So it's probably a C-. Most of the landfall cards really are C-. A natural aggression is the fight variant instance. 2 colorless and a green. Devoid. Target creature you control fights target creature an opponent controls. And if a creature an opponent controls would die this turn, exile it instead. In green, green red, green black, green white, green blue. This is probably A minus, B plus level removal. So it's pretty great. It's probably better than the most removal in the set. It's up there with Bear Punch. It's really good. Really good. So, and then it exiles, which is really nice. I'm gonna just really quickly. I think all the gold was either uncommon or rare or higher. But I'm gonna just whip through it real quick just to double check. I don't want to miss any cards because we're right near the end. Artifacts. I think there's like a piece of equipment that is complete junk. Yep, Hedron Blade is 1 with 2 to equip. Equip creature gets 1/1/1, and whenever it becomes blocked by 1 or more colorless creatures, it gains Death Touch until end of turn. Your opponent's just not going to block it with their colorless creatures. It's an F. It's just an F. I mean, it's just an F. It's just not playable. Let's see. I don't understand why Pilgrim's Eye got a bump up to uncommon. It should have stayed common. That's just me on my soapbox. Last set of cards are going to be the utility lands from battle. First off is Fertile Thicket. It enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, you may look at the top 5 cards of your library. If you do, rebuild 1 basic land card from among them. Put that card on the top of your library and put the rest on your bottom in any order. And then it taps for green. It's a weird effect for green. Normally that effect puts it in the hand. I don't know if I like stacking my deck to get a land off the top. It's probably going to be really useful in the 5-color green deck if that becomes a deck. In any other deck that you're playing green, you probably just want to play forests. I did skip Evolving Wilds in my tiredness. Evolving Wilds is always good. I love that art. I mean, ever since it and Terramorphic Expanse has gotten printed, it's just been a cornerstone at any time it's been legal. It will see play here because it is one of the few ways to fuel extra landfall. Evolving Wilds, I give an A. Fertile Thicket, I give probably a C. And then in the 5-color deck, I'd probably give it A because it fuels the 5-color deck. All these awesome lands. These are just basic lands. Lands. Okay. Liming Spires is the red utility land. Enters tapped. When it comes enters the battlefield, target creature gets +1/+1 and gains first strike until end of turn. It's kind of just your generic red combat trick. Very similar to Teetering Peaks. I don't think it's particularly good. It's probably between it and the white one. I give them both kind of D pluses, so that's a D plus to me. Mortuary Mire, on the other hand, is really interesting. Enters battlefield tapped, of course. When enters the battlefield, you may put target creature from your graveyard on top of your library and tap stab black. That's a really cool effect. It kind of works as a reverse Brajuko Bog in a way. I love Haunted Fengraf, and that thing costed 3 and got you back a creature at random. Sure, it put into your hand, but this gives you a lot more control. In the late game, in a control deck where you're playing few creatures, you might really want to have the ability to go ahead and put a creature back on top of your library. So I give it like a C+, B-. It's a pretty unique effect. Okay. Next up is Sandstone Bridge. This is the white utility land. Enters tapped. Target creature gets +1/+1 and vigilance until end of turn, and tap for white. Again, it's like a D-. Skyline Cascade is interesting. Enters tapped. Enters the battlefield. Target creature an opponent controls doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. It's a little cumbersome that it doesn't tap the creature. If it had tapped the creature, then it would be really good. But in blue, where you're just maybe sometimes just trying to buy turns, it becomes a lot better. Again, it's pretty unique. I would give it like a C+. I think that might be the last card. Let me go ahead and just scroll all the way down. Yep, that is it. So that's it for the set review. Overall, and I know I ended up having to finish up by myself because Dan had to grab a train. Overall, I'm really impressed by the commons in the set. I like a whole bunch of the uncommons. Actually, and with this me being me, because I play standard Pauper, and Pauper, my cube is silver black, I always look from the bottom up, basically. And I think this set has a lot of really unique kind of powerful effects at the bottom, and then of course big bomby effects in the mythic and rare slots. But I'm just really looking forward to Battle becoming, you know, standard Pauper playable. I think it's going to have a lot more flexibility than Theros did. Theros was just so narrow, and it made the game, in my opinion, not as fun as it could possibly be. But overall, I give the set. I just think it's going to be propped up by like Oath being like the second half of the set. I give it probably like a B- overall as far as design goes. On the standard side or the common side. Again, like most modern sets, it doesn't have a lot of impact on classic Pauper. It's just not going to. The power level is way different now. So for me, Dan, and Brennan, the other two guys in absence, I want to thank everybody for listening. Of course, like, comment, share, anything, mail me, kittens, whatever, and have a good evening.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, it really helps us out. You can find us on Twitter at Magicgatheringstrat, Facebook /Magicgatheringstrat, or on the web, Magicgatheringstrat.com. There you can find articles and free prize-supported leagues. This is all brought to you by our Patreons and cardhoarder.com. If you enjoy this content, please consider supporting us at patreon.com/Magicgatheringstrat.